Welcome to the full moon in Aquarius lunation update. It's lovely to see you all back here. I'm Freya of Freya Astrology. If you are returning, great to see you again. If you are new here, welcome. We discuss all things lunation, be that new moon or full moon. Every 2 weeks, there is an update on this channel where we talk about the significance of new beginnings and culmination and completion points in our life, aka the new moon or the full moon. Today we are talking about the full moon in Aquarius, which is taking place at 6 degrees of Aquarius, opposing the sun at 6 degrees of Leo. So this is what makes a full moon, when the sun and the moon are in exact opposition. This happens roughly every 28 days or once a month. And today's full moon is particularly significant and poignant for all Aquarius and Leo people, as well as some other signs, which we're going to get into in a minute. This is just a trial run of trying out recording in a new way, where I'm sharing the chart, but you can't see my face. I'm recording this from a very warm car, and the signal strength of the internet is not strong enough as I'm tethering off of my phone. But we're trying it. It's the school holidays here in the UK. And everything is crazy. Everything is being slipped into small pockets of time. And so this is what we're doing. Yeah. And if you would like to book an astrology reading with me, I would love to see you. Visit my website. I'll put the link below. Contact me on Instagram. It's Astrology Freya. Or you can send me an email at astrologyfreya@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. If you're local in the Norfolk area of the UK, then I can do in person, and you're virtual, we can do online, and if you're local, we can do online as well. And all the meetings are recorded. They're about an hour long. They're recorded sessions and sent over to you to keep forever, so that you can refer back to them, as we often discuss all of the upcoming energies for you, uniquely you, your literal, unique, personalized activations for the entirety of your year ahead. So this is a really nice thing to do for yourself, to book in for a solar return reading, for example, near your birthday, or just to see what's happening in the sky over the next 12 months. So let's get into the full moon today. As I said, hopefully you can see here, if the internet's not too glitchy, we've got the full moon here, which is conjunct a retrograde Pluto in Aquarius, opposing this sun Jupiter. I mean, look at this. This is exact at the time that I'm recording this. This is called a Jupiter cazimi, where the sun and Jupiter are exactly conjunct at the same degree and same minute. So this is 6 degrees and 24 minutes of the sign of Leo. If you are a Leo rising, if you are any of the other fixed signs, rising, sun or moon, then this one will be particularly poignant for you. We're also well within the eclipse window now, with the first of 2 eclipses coming up this summer in just 2 weeks' time. And the first eclipse is going to be in the sign of Leo, which is, the opposite sign to where the full moon is today. So there's something really poignant about the axis of Leo and Aquarius in your birth chart. Leo is this glyph here, if you can see it, and a bit like the lion's tail. And then Aquarius is like the electricity symbol. And these will govern 2 opposing birth chart houses for you in your birth chart. You don't need to have any planets or points or angles, meaning the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, IC, in the signs of Leo and Aquarius to experience this. Look to the ruling planet of Aquarius and the ruling planet of Leo to give you deeper insight. If you don't have Leo and Aquarius planets or angles, look to the sun in your birth chart to signify where you experience solar themes, which is Leo, and Saturn, which will signify the Aquarius themes in your life. But like I said, if you do have, and these will be 2 opposing birth chart houses, if you do have planets or angles in the sign of Aquarius and Leo, particularly in those first kind of 10 degrees, then you will be experiencing this summer, this kind of late July, major lunation, major culmination point, major calling into question the authority, the truth, the spiritual heart-centeredness of your lived experience at this time, because that's very much Jupiter in the sign of Leo. It's like adding a sense of heart-centeredness to your spiritual quest. If it does not light your soul on fire, if it does not make your heart beat, then what are you even doing? And then the full moon in Aquarius is having this ability to kind of detach from that feeling in some respects. Remember that a full moon is always a heightened emotional experience, even when it's in typically a kind of cooler sign of the moon, you know, in the sign of Aquarius, where typically the emotions can be more measured. It's a fixed air sign, so there's an irrationality that we can bring to our feelings, which might be quite helpful if our life experience is currently caught up in where we feel, I don't know, eternally tied to something. That is the fixed signs like Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. So those are 2 other signs that will be experiencing this one very strongly. We feel very tied and like we cannot make changes when it comes to the fixed signs, but actually making changes in the places where we feel the most stuck can create the deepest transformation. And that takes me over to the Pluto part in this full moon story, where Pluto is conjunct this full moon in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is taking us into some really deep, mysterious, transformational spaces where we are kind of met with our own shadow to help us then project forwards into the space of authentic, playful, childlike light. You know, what are you creating at this time? What creative seeds do you want to sow? I mean, not typically at a full moon are we thinking about sowing new seeds for the next 6 months, but because this is a Jupiter cazimi, there is a seed sowing aspect to this full moon, because there's a reset of the synodic cycle between the sun and Jupiter, where they meet up every now and again and they reset their cycle. And so this is a sort of seed sowing from a heartfelt space and a letting go, release, and culmination from a very kind of Saturn-like place, which is like, okay, what is my inner adult saying? Where do I need to be responsible? Where do I need to actually do the right thing for me? Where do I need to do the right thing for humanity and for like technology? There is probably quite a lot here coming up around AI. There is probably a lot coming up here around humans and the way that they interact with the world, around our sense of visibility, which is a very, very Leo thing. And I think it's funny that today is the day that my camera will not work, because my own visibility, the ruler of my Leo Jupiter cazimi and this like full moon, is my sun in Aquarius in the 8th house, and suddenly I am not visible. And maybe there's something important here around being visible kind of on social media, at least being visible out there in the world. And where do you find your visibility? Is it in very visible places? Have you got a sun in Leo, you were born to shine? Or have you got a sun in Aquarius or a sun in Pisces, and you're kind of perhaps more born to have a sense of visibility within those darker realms, perhaps where other people fear to tread? You are a custodian. You are somebody that, it takes me to that image of crossing the river Styx in Hades and being that person like punting the boat across. And now I'm thinking about being in Cambridge in the UK and being on a riverboat and being the punter. You know, you've got the stripy outfit, you've got the hat on, perhaps not down in Hades, maybe you're wearing all black. But your presence is important, no matter how silent your presence is. Your visibility and your ability to kind of hold space for others is incredibly important, and that reflects this light back to you, and you become more of your own star, more of your own authentic self by being visible and allowing other people to access their own visibility. That is really one of those stronger powers of the kind of 8th and 12th houses. And also today, this Jupiter cazimi and this full moon is in a square to Chiron. So there is something about wounding and healing around our relationship journeys, around the things that we find attractive, around our relationship with material resources. Are we finding that actually we need to let go of some of the perceived material security in our lives to help really nourish that creative inner child that just wants to play and have fun and not be thinking about money all the time? This is very much going to be part of our journey with Chiron in Taurus over the next 8 years. And to bring in some cycle tracking information here with this full moon, if you are ovulating at this full moon, it really makes me wonder about this full moon being the starting point of some sort of lasting change within your cycle journey. Perhaps your cycles are guiding you towards being more able to verbalize where you are in your cycle with your family members, with your children, with your friends, and that actually perhaps you are starting to set your diary by cycle tracking. This is absolutely something that I do now. Do I plan to go on holiday during a luteal phase? Yeah, probably not if I'm going with other people anyway. Maybe I'm going to go solo though on a luteal holiday. When I'm ovulating, then perhaps or I'm in a spring, those first 5 days of your cycle, sorry, like 5 days, like 5 to 8 maybe, then maybe I'm feeling much more kind of up for things. I'm feeling more adventurous, more able to get out there. I've got high energy. I can pick the kids up. I can, play, all of those things. Yeah, but it really makes me think, if you're ovulating at this full moon, then there is something deeply transformational about moving ahead with a sense of courage and truth and the ability to even find a spiritual journey with your own cycle, no matter where you are in your cycle journey. If you've just begun and you're in teenagehood, if you are in a kind of very fertile phase, if you're in perimenopause like me, if you are beyond menopause, you can still track with the moon. And typically at the full moon we may ovulate, and at the new moon we may bleed, and this means that we are very kind of in touch. I mean, I have limited information, like knowledge on this topic, but I know a little bit. So I think the idea is that we are more in touch with our own needs, very much Jupiter in Leo conjunct the Sun in Leo, and our ability to connect to our self-worth, that Chiron in Taurus, is very aligned, and we are able to see things clearly. If we are bleeding at this full moon, our inner power is less visible to us, but we are able to share, a bit like that visual that I shared earlier about crossing the river Styx and being the kind of the bearer of the soul's journey, the bearer of the soul as a being of light's journey across the water. And some of us were born to kind of bleed at the full moon and really guide others. We are here as sort of signposts, as river guards, as crosses of one realm to the other. It's quite mercurial in that sense. And we've left Mercury retrograde. Mercury is now direct, but we are traveling through the post-retrograde shadow, which is the area of the zodiac that Mercury moved through when she went on her retrograde journey over the last month. And now we are tracing our steps. God, it's really hard to talk clearly when it's so hot in this car. I feel like recording from a greenhouse. I would love to do that one day, record from a greenhouse. And we are able to see with more clarity now where we can start to fix and move forwards with clarity, anything to do with family, children, nurturing, motherhood, caring for others, our nutritional journeys. I definitely found that during Mercury retrograde in Cancer, I think I put some weight on. I was definitely moving into that space of comfort eating and kind of old habits, which actually did not serve me whatsoever. I found that my mood has massively changed from kind of like being less respectful towards my own body, because I feel like when I'm comfort eating, that's not coming from a place of respect and from a place of clarity when it comes to nutrition, but it's coming from a place of resorting to old habits, very retrograde when we are resorting back to things. And now that Mercury is direct and moving through the post-retrograde shadow, it's like, okay, what was working back then, what isn't working, and how can we actually make space for potential comfort eating? Is there something that we can do to replace that desire to eat something? Is there a practice like yoga or taking a bath that can replace something that nourishes but also feels comfy? There is a real need for comfort with the sign of Cancer. And I felt like my feet were on fire there, but I've just checked and they are sitting in a sunny patch in my car. So I've parked up in a shady space, but there's a sun patch under my feet, but it's not fire, so that's good. Yeah, so thinking about our own sense of comfort, also with this Leo to Aquarius full moon, activating those two opposing birth chart houses. We've also got a sextile from Uranus quite tightly there at 4 degrees of Gemini, nearly 5 degrees of Gemini. So very much within the mix, only 1.5 degrees away from an exact sextile. There's something quick, rapid, inspirational, exciting, possibly too exciting at times. Very much the energy of the year of the fire horse that we are well and truly in right now. Uranus in Gemini is giving us the mental clarity upgrades, the speech that we perhaps have been lacking up until this point, that will help guide our journey forwards to shine our light more brightly in a much more authentic way. And that Jupiter in Leo is going to be there for the next 12 months. So this is a real special moment in the Jupiter through Leo journey. At this cazimi point, Jupiter will become combust again within sort of 24 hours of this full moon, which is a different expression altogether. But if I can suggest one thing, do some journaling during this full moon, particularly around the Aquarius themes. Look to see which house that is in your birth chart to see what life areas are being activated. Is it your first house of self? Is it your 8th house of shared resources? Your 9th house of beliefs? Your 12th house of hidden things and faith and rest? Is it your 4th house of home and family, 5th house of children, and so on and so forth? Do some light journaling around that, and also around your own journey with visibility and shining brightly in this very kind of regal sense, but take it back to kind of classical regaldom. It doesn't need to feel rich within our souls and our heart's desire. We do not need to necessarily be covering ourselves in gold. We just need to find that thing that really illuminates our soul, be that golden trinkets, or be that leaves collected off the streets, which cost absolutely nothing but really set your soul on fire. So that is all we have today for this full moon forecast. Again, if you'd like to work with me, please book a reading at the link below. I have some space available for August and September, and I will be reopening my astrology membership, where we meet once a month to share astrology topics, learn different timing techniques in our lives to know when to act with the planets and when to hold back. And we meet once a month online on a Thursday night between 8 and 9:30 p.m. And we share in astrological space. And it's a beautiful time to just get together and focus on the stars. And I'll be opening that up for new membership in September. So please have a look at the link below, and I will share more about that again soon. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you soon. Bye.